sure that there's typically with some of the software, there's a line item where they'll help you upload and sort stuff in some way. Have y'all talked to them about that?
That does not include them coming in and doing any of that. It includes we've got some printer scanners in place that can do some of the light item, which was what we would be using from day to day to continue adding to it. The printers and scanners that we all have at our desk already work with this software system. They went ahead and checked that out. But there will be included in this quote a scanner. It's a high-tech scanner that can do hundreds of pages a minute, and that when they said of uploading documents and adding in, that now we would have to bear the cost of getting that done. I do have in the commission office budget the position where Ms. Brown left us early in the year, right before COVID hit. I still have that in our budget to rehire for that position. It's needed. We've been trying to keep up, and things are starting to get back to normal, and we're going to need to start looking at advertising that pretty soon. We've just been eating it and dealing with it best we can right now, but everything's picking up, and we did include that, and that would be something. I am working with Mr. Herb in the university and bringing in a couple of students, but I think we're just having to get that. Yeah. And this would be definitely something that they could do, and the cost for those graduate students, it's very cheap compared to the amount of work and the experience they can get from coming in too. So, y'all have any more questions on that? I think you.
Is we gonna do this across board just for the commission office, or not the engineer department, church bond office?
This is it goes with our software, our accounting software that's in our office.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if some of the other offices, they may already have some scanning of documents. I think your office probably has some scanning that y'all already do. I don't know if it's something that Russell's looked at. Now, we're looking at maybe some extra licenses to help with streamlining purchase orders and stuff like that throughout the county with other departments. This is something that they offer, kind of a separate sign-in. They don't really get into our software with it, but it's an add-on that could happen for some of that. It's essentially, it makes you end up going paperless, and I may not be y'all's age, but I'm still not on the board of completely going paperless quite yet either. Maybe one day we'll all get there. But it does have some options that we can tie into for some things that tie into our accounting systems, like purchase orders and stuff that come from outside of our office. Also, in some of that, we will get some more money back. You know, we got some money back on our last election. We'll be getting more money back on this upcoming election. They're actually offering an extra $25. Well, it's a total of $50 extra for poll workers to come and work in that election in November. And they're even allowing, because of the volume of absentee ballots that they're expecting, they're allowing them to hire up to 2 additional helpers at a reduced rate that they'll refund for that. So I believe our circuit clerk has looked into hiring 1 the last time I talked to her, and she was just kind of trying to fill it out and figure out what she needed on that. But that's something that we'll get reimbursed too through the Secretary of State and some of the COVID funds. As far as revenues, let me see if I have anything else in there that's kind of new. I don't have anything else other than that in the revenues for the general fund to really discuss there. In the commission office, as far as the budget, a lot of stuff, now there is included, the anniversary raises are included, not a cost of living or anything, just the regular step on their anniversary raises are included across the board for all the departments. There is an extra item under in miscellaneous expense. There's an increase in there. Commissioner Aaron, do you want to talk to that? This is something that you kind of had come up with. Yes.
You can go ahead.
Okay, I'll have to make sure. He had talked about maybe trying, because we have the cost of family coverage health insurance has increased so much. The county does cover all of the employees' portion of health insurance. about possibly offering some kind of supplement, for family coverage health insurance. We tossed in a number of $50,000 in there this year to maybe do like a $200 supplement. It's a little more than what we need for who has family coverage health insurance right now. But we're not sure if that's the case. If y'all were to approve something like that, you may have more people want to take out family coverage, so we did a little more than what would cover just who's here now. Now, we do not have the new rates for health insurance yet. They usually come out around this week. As soon as we get those rates, we'll let you know what they are. I have seen it decrease one time in my 20-something years of working with the county, so I don't really foresee a decrease in health insurance. So I don't know yet what the
Well,
health
we need to
insurance
make sure
rate's
we
gonna
talk
be.
about it again in 2 weeks.
Yes.
And this is something that me and Mackenzie's been talking about, it's on it, because we have 16 employees that has family coverage, you're looking at probably $700 a month. And, I just think, the county offsetting it, they would help attract more people to get on it and get more people to go to work with the county. The insurance won't be so high because it takes a good check.
Yeah. It's almost $700 a month for family coverage
$700 a month.
insurance with the county right now.
And, like we're gonna have it, 16 out of 100 employees on it.
Where's that at here?
I have it, it's just included in under commission office, under miscellaneous expense. Last year it was budgeted 8,000 and we just did it for 58,000, something that way it could be easily taken out or whatever if y'all, something you did choose or didn't choose to do. It is built into the budget you all have in front of you.
Unallocated expenses.
No, it's under miscellaneous expense in the commission office.
Sure, try to do it in the first.
And I know these are harder for y'all to read, I'm sorry. We just didn't have time to get them
It's just something that I've
tabbed.
been talking with the employees about, government.
Thank you.
I'm opposing it.
Let's see, it's on, it's the 001, 100, 1990.
Yeah,
You see it?
Okay. I'm gonna keep going through the commission office. Like I said, most things are around the same. Now, I did forget to tell you, right above that is professional services. This is, I know I talked to y'all all about this before, and was actually working on getting some quotes and numbers on doing a personnel study. We've not had our payroll personnel study, pay study updated since 1998, I believe, or 99. Yeah. And I think it's just probably time for us to take a look at doing that. So I've got $82,000 in there. It's gonna cost some money. I don't know exactly what it is because I was in the midst of doing it, COVID hit, and I've not been able to get back on that, but I think it's something that it's probably time. We've had a lot of, in that many years, 21 years, there's been a lot of job changes. Technology's changed, which changed what people's jobs entail and what they're doing, and I just think it may be time to take a look at doing a pay study countywide to be sure.
Do you think, Ms. Quisman, do you think we can talk to Mr. Harrell about that, the university, if that foot will be so
I
high?
think we've tried to talk to them before, and I don't know that y'all have a department that really works in pay studies. Do y'all? We even tried to reach out to Auburn at one point in time, and it just wasn't.
Auburn does that, no.
We reached out to the university while we were doing the jail feasibility study, and it just didn't work out for them to be able to do it. And so that's why I'm thinking if we're gonna add everybody, it's probably not gonna happen. I will say, when we did it 21 years ago, I think it cost the county between $45,000 and $50,000 21 years ago. So, things aren't getting any cheaper. But, that may be high, I don't know. We don't have the numbers yet on doing that, but I did want to include that in the budget. Let's see here. Also in the commission office, the PATS grant, I have talked with Mr. Dante Frazier with the city of Troy, and this year, the Department of Transportation has decided to fund the PATS grant in Pike County at 100%. But they have also offered a, I don't know exactly what to call it, that to help buy some new buses and stuff to bring them in, and they're almost buying them at like a buy one, get one free price that they're able to secure through the Department of Transportation. And they have requested, since we're not having to pay, that we pay a portion, the percentage base, just like we normally do the PATS grant on. And it would be about $35,000, which is about $50,000 less than $45,000 less than what we normally spend on it. So they have asked that we participate in getting in some new buses and stuff for that department. Now, it will go back to, I'm sure, the other rate after a year or so, but for this year, that's what their request is. It's significantly lower. I believe that's all I have just in the commission office to point out to you all. Under the courthouse, Ms. Jeter, there's a lot of people not here tonight because of COVID and just being around people. They didn't have many changes, so they just kind of asked me to speak on their behalf, so I'm just going with it.
I think, from our point of view, what do you see that has changed, I guess, from each department, and if they didn't have a change, just let it go.
Well, I will note this in the courthouse department. The only change really in there is I did add a line item for architect fees. The reason that's in there is because once they get started on the jail, we will need to do some figuring on how we're going to move people around at places at the courthouse and stuff, and we're going to have to hire an architect to get some things done there. I have $200,000 in there. I have no clue if that's too much. I feel like it's probably on the high side, but I don't know what that price is going to be, and I don't want us to be hurting if we don't have enough there. And it's going, once they start building on that construction, we need to start making a plan of what's going to happen with the courthouse once all those offices that are moving out move out. So that is in there. There's no changes in the district. Well, the district attorney's office, we lowered some repair maintenance because we just haven't had it this year. The license inspector, she did not have any major changes in her budget. I'll come back to you and let you talk about your office. I don't think you really had much of anything, unless you want to speak now.
Well, only thing that I'd like to say is I'd like to add the election cost, and make that part of my budget. Like right now, $6,000 a year. The one we didn't mention before was just that if we do, the contract would be 1 to 3 years, so if we do the 3, we'll know build a lot.
6 to 3 years anyway. Just go ahead and add it in, and then if something happens that it doesn't happen, we can always take it out.
Yeah, I mean, you guys don't approve the contract, we're going to mail the Secretary of State that money. He was saying I should have it before we go.
Yeah, that'll be fine. We can do that. We'll add that in there.
Okay.
We can do some rearranges.
Do you have anything else to add right
No,
quick?
other than that, I think our budget is pretty much exactly the same as last year.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. The Revenue Commission, it's about the same, minor changes, maybe in adjustments in printing and stuff that went up like $500. Nothing, no major changes there. Elections, there are changes, but it's because we have one election this upcoming year. In November, that's the only election we'll have. Last year we had more than one. Board of Registrars, theirs is essentially the same. They rearranged, a little money around, but their budget is, the same as it was last year. The next item are the general fund appropriations. These are what comes out. This is not a part of that sales tax appropriation. We had the Wiregrass RC&D that we had last year, Cancer Wellness we had last year. We will not have the Alabama Forestry Commission because we were able to purchase the truck for them, and so that comes out of the budget. They don't come back and ask until it gets time in a few years, probably for another vehicle or something. So there's nothing there. The regular South Alabama Development Commission and the Pike County Extension Office, there's their regular request out of our commission. Also, on the next page is Pike County RSVP. Miss Tammy Lockley's here, but I believe you said to leave it the same as it was last year, the $2,500. So.
Make sure I'm reading correct. So, forestry, over in the approved section, you got $40,000.
Yeah, do not pay attention to that approved. It is picking that up from what is approved this current year. So don't pay attention to that on any of it. The only ones y'all
That'd be
really.
zero. That won't even be on there.
Yeah. Once you approve it, that'll convert to whatever's approved for this budget. It's just pulling what it is for currently. You need to look at the requested / recommended, and those are all the same in there on your pages.
Gotcha.
Now, I will point out that Pike Animal Shelter, we did end up giving them something last year, but I don't have a line item in there if that's something y'all wanted to discuss and think about doing something there.
What did we do last year?
We gave them $2,500 one-time payment. However, me and Mayor Reeves and Mayor Boyd have not had a chance to meet yet. We've been kind of not scared to meet, but we just hadn't wanted to have all that in one building at this time. So we may end up doing some kind of video, something or other, to get together on these. So that's something I guess I'll need to come back to the commission with.
Okay, that's fine. Now, I will ask you to take a look. There's a couple of letters from requests for your, for the budget. There's 2 new requests in here that we have not had in the past. One is from Pike County DHR. If there's something you would like to, they're asking for donations for their department. I don't think they outline exactly what they're doing, just to help with the families in Pike County. So, my understanding from talking to them, this is not in the letter, but would be helping with the Christmas project that the DHR is so involved in here in Pike County they actually take donations and go out and buy some of the presents for the needy families. And I think they're seeing they're gonna have a big need for it this year, bigger than normal, and so they're asking for a donation. They do not say that in this letter, so that's something we would probably check on unless you talk to somebody, but I think that's the main need. Is that. The other item in here, they didn't ask for a certain amount, they just would take anything. The other item, there is a letter from the Alabama Kidney Foundation. The lady there, Rebecca Smith, she had reached out to me by email and asked what to do in order to be considered for appropriations from our county government. And I explained to her, that she'd need to send an email or letter requesting what she needed, and that we would need proof of their organization, make sure it's an organization that we are allowed to fund. But she does not, she never told me an exact amount or anything that she wanted, and I'm not heard anything else from her, but if you had questions, her email, and, I think it's just her email is on here, that you could contact her if you wanted to talk to her further.
Well, it looks like we did have some Pike County people have to go down there in the amount of about $10,649 worth. Is that what you understand?
That's what I'm seeing on there, yeah.
All right.
So, that's just something, if you wanna think about it, just let me know, come see me and we can look at that. I think that, and I did give you a copy of Miss Tammy's letter, y'all should have it up there, I didn't
Yeah,
have it
we
over
got
here,
it.
but I did
Got it.
put a copy in front of all y'all.
Yeah.
Okay, the next item is the sheriff's office. The sheriff, the one thing that's not included in his budget for you to look at, he had a request for some, funding for some promotions that he's had in his office, that have gone without pay, is what he's telling us. The thing is it doesn't exactly line up with our pay study, which goes back to needing to relook at the pay study. So, it's not in there. If y'all were to, he didn't give a certain amount or anything like that, but if it's something you wanted to do, we'd have to go back and rewrite some job descriptions and stuff like that, which all of this could be accomplished if we were able to do the pay study, if it was noticed that there was a need for it, depending on the jobs and things like that.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Sorry, nothing. Yeah. So that's what I was going to elaborate a little more on. If we did the pay study, so I know we need one now to be able to do a promotion. So exist inside of our pay scale today. I'm assuming what we would have to do is vote to add that to this pay study that we're fixing to pay to have somebody redo. How would that
The way-
function happen?
The way that works, and a big issue I see now looking back at what we call our Yard Decker study, which is our pay study that we have right now. When they created those jobs in the sheriff's department, where you see you have in a lot of sheriff's departments and police forces and stuff, it's kind of like military. You have some sergeants, lieutenants, captains, that sort of thing. Our pay study, when they originally did it, literally has a deputy, and then a captain, and then the sheriff. There was no movement in between for a job like that that probably needs to have that in there. He has along the way asked for some, job descriptions to be approved by the commission, that had some sergeants and lieutenants and stuff in there, and it's worked, fine. But these jobs that they're not necessarily in our job, they're not in our pay study, the ones that he's got listed out. It is something that we could go and, sit down and he and I could talk and see where the differences are and what would warrant those changes in the pay. As far as maybe duties and stuff like that are more being over people, supervisor things and stuff that weren't there when they first come on. It's just an entry level deputy position. It's just we don't have those jobs as part of our pay study right now.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying that that there's not a need. I guess what I'm asking is that process. Because if we're promoting to a position, because I've heard for the last 4 years, I've heard Yard Decker, we gotta stay inside of our pay study, and that, you get in trouble when you get outside of this, and I'm not saying any of that's wrong. I'm just saying, so if we're promoting to a position that doesn't exist, I'm assuming that the steps for that would be for us to first create that position and set a scale for that position so that we could promote to that position. Right? Is that, I'm not saying it's not needed, I'm just trying to get the process down.
Is this, I don't know what you get through.
No, I'm done, I was listening.
I agree with you, but on the Yard and Decker study, we finna build this new jail and everything's gonna change.
Yes.
And so we get this new study for everything, whoever does it gonna go around the East Department and find out what's going on. But in the Yard and Decker study, we could go there for those steps that's in the Yard and Decker study right now and use that until we get all of our things in place.
But to stay within the study, what you have a problem is, and I have no idea if this is right, I'm making this up without looking at his letter. You might have just a deputy that's, correct me, what is the right military? What's the first step? A sergeant or a lieutenant? Which one's first? Really don't know. So start in seniority order. So you have a sergeant. Well, you might have a person that's right now just a deputy, and he wants to move him to a sergeant or something.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a job
description
that's for that job. So first we'd have to create that job description, and you all would have to prove that along with the pay for that job description.
This is what I'm saying. We have been across this bridge. The attorney and the administrator wrote a job description for those people, and then brought it to the county and approved it. So we can do the same thing.
We would have to. There's a
we
few
can
little
do the same thing
hiccups
for
in
right
there.
now, and then when it come up, we get all the study. We just promote what we get from.
Yeah, and that could mean major changes. You may
Yeah.
have a job that's getting paid $5
Sure,
an
yeah,
hour
yeah,
that
yeah.
would be $100 an hour. I mean,
We have done that with the administrator and
nobody gets paid $5 an hour because that's
We
not
have the
legitimate.
administrator and the attorney rewrite the job description,
Well, usually at the department head, the department head is responsible for sending us a new job description that they're requesting, and myself and Alan, as the county administrator and the county attorney, make sure that it's legitimate and we think it
Right.
fits what they're asking for, because we do have some, in our study, we have some ways of knowing that, a point system, depending on your duties and stuff like that, for us to where it would go. It's a little tricky though with what he's asking because of some things we've already done in the past. And I talked to the sheriff about this a little bit. It would take some work to try to figure out how to do some of what he's asking. It may have to be done, but it's also got to be the job that person's doing and making sure you're not just creating something just to be creating it.
Well, we got 3 people that been doing it, so let's do it that way. That's what I said.
So I just don't have a dollar amount to tell you what it would cost.
Check on some other counties, check some other counties.
Well, we have that. We had the study comparing us to other counties. So,
Is that,
but on the sheriff's one, that was one of the things. I just wanted you to know that's why it's not in there, and I've talked to the sheriff some about it, and he knows that's why it's not necessarily in there right now. The next thing up under him, I'd like to note that he still is looking to do his, the vehicles that he rotates through every year.
Yeah.
But I have got it in there, we're in a financial shape where we can just pay outright for these vehicles instead of having to finance them,
Great.
this year.
That would be great.
So I do just have that as being paid for, unless the price has gone way up, and then it may be another story. But, that, under the jail, he is requesting 4 additional, jailers. He is doing this to try to go ahead and get some more people in, to get them trained for when we go to our new jail, because we know that we're gonna have to have some more people, just based on our study. It's gonna take more people to run that jail, but to go ahead and get them used to, you know, the rules and how it works, and make sure they can go ahead and get them trained and stuff in. He wants to go ahead and hire 4 more people to go ahead and be getting ready for that. The way we were able to make that work, you know, we have our jail court costs that was, passed a few years ago. We're able to use that money to pay for any operational costs at the jail, so we'll be able to move that money into our general fund to pay for this additional cost.
Well,
Yes, sir.
additional money to come to our jail. Now, I was talking to one of the administrators at the city of London today, and the tickets that they write, we get $35. Do we get $35 per ticket that they write?
I have no idea. We don't.
I was told that the county get $35.
We're like speeding tickets, is that what you're talking
You know,
about?
speeding tickets, or any criminal ticket that the city of London write, or any ticket that the city of Troy. We get 35, we supposed to get $35.
Under court costs,
Court
maybe. We may,
so only
So
when
I
only when they go to court.
only when they go to court.
Only
Okay.
When they pay that court cost, even at municipal level, it is my understanding
Then we get
that
35. So what is that,
To the court cost.
do that go to the jail?
It has to be used for, operation of the jail, is how that law was set up for the court cost.
But do we show it in this?
Yes, there is a whole fund that is called jail court cost, it's a whole fund by itself. We'll get to
So
it.
it don't, okay.
Yeah, we'll get to it, but that, there is a whole fund that is for that. We had to set up that way, this way the law is done.
Okay.
So, question. That, in our jail package, those 4 are just, they just show in all the.
They are included in the salaries and everything that's already there.
All that stuff.
Okay, all right.
Okay, that's the jail. The EMA, he's snuck out, but I think his budget's essentially, the same. There is the extra $100,000 in there. That's just the offset expense for the COVID that has the revenue, over in the
We'd have had
revenue.
gotten the revenue for that too,
Well, there's 100,000 revenue, and then there's 100,000
right?
expense.
Zeros out.
They wash each other out, yes.
Yeah.
I believe he said that he didn't have any other changes. Pretty much essentially the same. Okay. Under the coroner, there is a letter from the coroner in there. He is requesting a $2,000 expense account, increase. And it is due to, he's having to purchase some more items due to the pandemic situation to be able to suit himself up and that kind of thing.
Okay.
That's been a big expense that he's having to do.
Can we not get that under the code of law?
Well, he purchases all of his expenses himself because of the way the law is written. He has a salary that he gets paid, and then he has a coroner's expense check. he pays for everything. He pays for like any of his office equipment, software, upgrades,
Body bags,
transportation,
everything.
fuel costs, technical equipment, training expenses.
I mean, I understand how that typically goes, but this is not. In other words, if we're buying stuff to get us through this, there's a fund that we can get it from, that we may just have to purchase some of this stuff for.
And we could probably help him with that.
Well, he may, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, we've had this conversation before about how little funds that they get for some stuff. But if it is truly, hey, all these extra expenses due to all this extra stuff and then I'm having to wear and buy and do, you know, the COVID fund
Yeah.
may be a good way.
Yeah, and we could work with him on doing that, seeing about if he's got some costs and wants to run it through, our office that way. It will only go through, as of right now, December 31st, so he'd still be funded, but I mean, he uses it for other things too, but that's something I can talk to him about, just the fact that we can help out with some of that. And I will talk to him about that. But that's the only change that, the coroner has. We don't have anything really, juvenile probation, litter program. There could be some minor changes, but they're to do with garbage went up $5 a month. I mean, little things like that in some of these departments. The litter program is still in here.
Let's leave it in
May or may
there
not, yeah.
and hope we
It's
can
just
get
there.
that going again
Mhm.
soon.
Yeah. Let's see. No changes really in the health department. Animal control. There's no real changes in animal control right now. The Board of Education and Extension Building, that's kind of together. There's no big changes there. That gets rid of, that's our general fund. The next item's like jail food account, and I will say the jail food account, you know, we were all worried, but with the new changes in the law, with how that's reimbursed to the state, that has been rocking along really
No
well.
problems.
Yeah, we've not, at this point in time, we've not had any problem with being able to feed, and the cost of feeding prisoners.
Say that again.
Ready, you know,
Oh.
they want somebody else.
The city of Brundage has requested through Commissioner Harris, a little expense for some radios. And he told them they needed to send us a letter. So, you know, and it's, if I'm not mistaken, the DECA may fund that too.
That's gonna have to do with Homeland Security grant, is that what you're talking about, the one through Homeland Security grant?
No, this is something different.
Something different.
It's,
It's the radio they use, and they're gonna get on an equal basis, same as,
they want to be
same
the
channel.
same as the sheriff's department, the police department here.
That's
I
gonna
think
be
that's
that
the
Herb-
EMA.
Yeah, Herb's working. on
Herb
it.
is,
Yeah.
okay. So that's being worked on.
Yes, I think they're all meeting together and stuff and working on that.
Okay,
currently.
good.
There's some special radio, they've been buying several each year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good.
The next is dealer play account. This is just a small account that goes through for the probate office. The next time is gonna be the lodging tax fund. We are planning on getting the FEMA reimbursement back in the next year. Could happen, could not happen, we don't know. But in doing that, myself and Russell have spoken, and we just have a small amount budgeted for him to be able to use with some work, because we've got to build it back up to that 400,000 before
Absolutely.
we can do anything else based on all of y'all
Okay,
and our agreement, for spending it. So, once that gets there may be a time where we come back and wanna do a budget amendment on that fund, if we go ahead and get it this year.
okay.
So, just so you know that. The next item is the sales tax account. This is where all of our general fund sales tax comes in, the 0.25%, and then the internet sales tax, this is where it comes in. There are some increases. Last year, we kinda had to just shoot in the dark on the estimate for internet sales tax. It has done exponentially better than what we budgeted, even though it was just a shot in the dark. So, that, we're doing pretty good on our sales taxes, yes.
So it's because of that fund, though, because correct me where I'm wrong, the, court costs are not gonna cover, just because of the extra in that fund, we're able to go on and hire a full jail.
There's some help
Yeah.
through that, yes.
So, I mean, that's kind of one of those, we know the court costs are not gonna cover where we gotta be. We've probably known that all along. This fund is, because it's increased, that internet usage tax. That fund has allowed us to do, and don't allow us to be able to cover some of those costs that the way it is right now.
Yeah, just like being able to outright pay for
Without it, we
the,
wouldn't be able to do this.
being able to pay for the vehicles for law enforcement and stuff like that, if it wasn't for something like this, that, we would not be able to do those things. The sales tax appropriation, I know you all got to meet and talk about that. Right now, it's just in your budget, the exact same as last year until there's more to it. The next item is inmate housing. This is where we get some, we get funds, the city of Brundage houses their inmates, I think it's $23 a day
Okay.
that they pay for inmates there, and pays to house their inmates at our county jail. So,
More than that, isn't
$23 a day, and then
$23.
$22, and then $3 a day
it?
for
About
food.
around $30, around $30.
I think it's 25 total in this, it's 25 total.
25 total.
A day. But this fund, it only brings in around, normally it brought in around 6,500. This year it's only brought in 1,100. A lot of that's to do with COVID, and we could keep people out of jail just for their safety and stuff. We did.
Okay.
So,
I've been running my mouth today, and I told them, they find out it's gonna go up when it's jail time.
that might happen, because they'll be in a much, I mean, it's gonna cost more to run a jail the size that we're gonna go to running, but, I don't know what that price is gonna be. It'll be a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll have to do some consideration on that, definitely. The next item is our jail sales tax. This is just, I mean, it's what it is. We're using all of those funds, on construction. We've still got some, we gotta pay, consulting, architect fees, that kind of stuff. The demolition, so we're just working on that. That's just based on estimates on revenue, and we have to spend it on the jail. It won't be spent on anything else.
Where we at on all the demolition?
I've not asked them about that in the past couple of days. They're getting there.
I rode by, there was only one building left standing.
The only buildings left are the ones right up under the hill.
Yeah, on the left-hand side.
All
All the housing part is gone.
How about all the concrete for the slabs and stuff, is that still?
Everything go,
Yes.
Yeah, it was all.
When I've driven by, it's been nothing but dirt out there where they've torn it
Yeah,
down.
yeah.
except the streets, everything gone except the paved road.
Yeah, I think we'll leave them.
They're gonna try their best to leave
What
those.
about the girls' club thing?
It's fine. It ain't going nowhere till they get ready for it to go.
That'll be the last.
It'll be very last, yeah.
So, the next item is tobacco tax fund. This is just where we get, it's where our tobacco tax fund, for the volunteer fire departments here, it rolls through this account, after we've checked off on their expenses and stuff for the.
That money was there, and we were gonna kind of leave it there to see if we could get this grant to help them, or know they had a kind of a piggy bank to get going and people with that.
We used it last time to
Do the repair.
help them do the repairs. So it's built back up, because I know we pretty much.
No, it did not end up only being about a little over $2,000 that we had to do. They were able to get some stuff and get better prices and all on that, so it ended up being less than what we thought we were gonna have to spend on that. I'm gonna skip gas tax fund because that is Russellville, baby. And I'm gonna go to road and bridge fund, the 112, a few pages over. In there, it's about the same. I did have to work on our general liability. We bought a lot of new equipment and vehicles and stuff, and so that price is just naturally going up a little bit. But we've got one motivator, two motivators being paid for out of the road and bridge fund that y'all just approved. And then we are making our final payment this year on the tractor and the mower that's in that fund. There is the appropriation to soil and water that we've been paying the $10,000 out of there for a few years, is in that fund. This does not include a transfer out to the general fund, and we did pay off the 2010 general obligation warrant, so that is gone, so it's freed up some funds in there. I'm gonna skip highway and traffic and let Russell talk to y'all about that. Next is capital improvement. The capital improvement fund, that is split 50-50 between us and road projects. It is particular what it can be used for us. We use it to pay on our 2014 general warrant. It leaves us very small amount as carryover every year in there, and that's something we use as maintenance. We can use it for maintenance on this building and the courthouse and stuff, so we use some of those funds and we have to replace like air conditioners and stuff that we've had to do in the past. I'm going to skip the RRR 117 fund and skip the 118 fund. Reappraisal is next. It is essentially about what it has been being. I will remind you, because I talked about the architect fees, they will be able to pay, if they are moving and some of the renovations on the courthouse will be done for their office, they will be able to pay for that out of those renovation funds, so we'll be able to save some costs there when we, when whoever goes back and goes wherever at the courthouse, once that's looked at and decided. But other than that, they're essentially about the same as they've been being. Motor vehicle technical fund and probate, this is something that the probate judge can use. It's really kind of his discretion. Manufactured home, probate discretion. So a lot of the rest of these funds, special juvenile, are pretty much set at what they've been being. There's no big changes, or it's kind of funds that different departments can use for different things. It just runs through our office. We do have in there the jail court costs. And we do show that we'll be transferring $130,000 out for jailers this year into the general fund to help cover that jailer cost. I'm gonna let Russell talk about these federal exchange and all those County Rebuild Alabama. You've got in there, we have to approve budgets even on like these warrants, the gas tax warrants, general obligation warrants. Nothing much to discuss there other than just what the principal and interest payment are on those items annually. We do have the 2 new warrant funds that will start payments on at the end of next year. We've made estimates on what those payments will be. We don't really know until we know how much we end up having to borrow on that, so those are just estimates for now. Other than that, these are just small little accounts that y'all don't, I mean, we oversee it, but y'all don't necessarily have any say-so over the rest of these accounts. I will tell you that there is about a $500,000 reserve for debt retirement, or just unallocated funds in the general fund this year. About $500,000. I think it is $500,000 that we got on that line item. So we're in good shape. So if any of y'all have any ideas on some things you want to do, you see me and I'll be glad to talk to you and look through and discuss some different options. And that's all I have. Unless
Thank
you
you.
have any questions.
Russell?
It used to be that we covered, McKinsey covers the road, what we call road and bridge, which is actually a public building road and bridge fund. It's not dedicated to the road department necessarily, but anyway, that usually, in the past, it left us with 4 funds, which is, our main fund is the 7-cent gas tax fund, and then of course, RRR, special highway and highway tax. But, I guess now we have 6 funds to deal with because of the new Rebuild Alabama Act. So, the simplest two for us would be those two, the CRAF, County Rebuild Alabama Fund, and the FAEF, which is the Federal Aid Exchange Fund. So the FAEF is very simple. You just got one item under revenue and one under expenditure. So we get exactly $400,000 from the state on October the 1st to replace our federal aid allocation that we used to get. And then $400,000 of it is shown as contractual road maintenance. That has to be used on collector roads for eligible projects. And the more detailed information about how that money is going to be spent in both of these funds is covered in your county transportation plan that you've already approved for next year. So the actual budget form is really simple, and then the details of what we're going to be doing with it is in the CTP, and that's also posted on your website. So under the CRAF fund, sorry about that. Yeah, and I don't have what you have either, so, Mackenzie, can you throw out the number when I get the one of these? CRAF?
That's gonna be the
220. So in this one, if you'll remember, last year was the first, or the current fiscal year we're in now is the first year of that. Next year will be year 2, and then of course year 3. That was the new gas tax was implemented gradually. So the first year it's 6 cents, and then the second year is 8 cents, and then the third year is 10. It goes up to the 10 cents. So this upcoming year will be, after that 2-cent increase, and after that first 2-cent increase, so the amount there under revenues is more than it was this year. It's close to $500,000 this year, so we're expecting $650,000 next year, and then the following year will be full implementation, so it should be a little over $800,000 that third year. So that's a lot of detail about that, but I just wanted to cover that since this is new. But then under revenues, you see there that we're estimating our warrant payments will be $283.5, and most of that is just interest, because the loans that we're using to cover those projects, to pay for those projects, we only have to pay interest until next April or May, whenever your principal payments kick in. So next year, that amount will be more, but it's $283.5 this year, because most of that is just the interest payments. And so that leaves $366.5 for the actual work that we're going to do with that money this year. So the Highway and Traffic Fund, which is number 118, fund number 118. Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to pick the low-hanging fruit first and cover the simpler ones first.
113 is the.
Yeah.
All right.
113. The Highway and Traffic Fund. That one is simple. It's about the same as it was last year, as far as the revenues go. A small portion of that is used to pay part of the county administrator's salary, and the rest of it just gets transferred into the 7-cent gas tax fund. So that's all that is.
And they make us have a lot of these funds too.
Yeah, yeah. And then more heavily restricted funds are triple R and special highway,
117 and 118.
and that's 117 and 118. Most of that is, we usually don't pay stuff directly out of those funds. Like I said, those are restricted to only triple R and special highway eligible items. So when you see our budget there, that mostly covers payroll expenses and materials and equipment. You know, we get reimbursed for the equipment we use in doing that eligible work. So all that just goes back into the 7-cent gas tax fund. So, I mean, I'll be glad to pause there and answer any questions for those two funds if you have any.
You've had contractual road maintenance in that fund for a couple of years, and we don't have any in there this year. What was that?
Just the way that we worked it out.
It was just kind of the way the fund.
Yeah, some of it, some of the contractual road work that we do, like for example, the block grant that we're hoping to get, the part of that grant is paving the dirt road. And so if we use our cash match on that part of the project, it is not triple R eligible. It can't be, you can't use triple R or special highway funds to do that kind of work. And then like our vegetation management contracts, spraying, mowing, all that kind of stuff can't really be used in those funds either, so.
So it just depends on what your contract is.
Yeah, and we have to juggle everything between these funds and just kind of make it work out. But like I said, most of it just gets reimbursed. It reimburses the 7-cent gas tax fund for these expenses. So that leads us to our main fund, our main operating fund, which is the 7-cent gas tax fund. And you know, there's lots of items in there, but the vast majority of these items, I'm sorry, did everybody find that? That's 111, fund number 111. But the vast majority of those items are close to what they were last year, just some minor differences. We usually go in and update those based on, you know, what we did this year and what we're expecting next year. But no real big changes in the vast majority of those. Many of them are exactly the same as they were last year. But the three that changed most of all, I guess, would be three of the four biggest ones, which are road building materials, contractual road maintenance, and then equipment. So I just thought I'd highlight a few items on those and then try to answer any questions y'all have. Last year, the materials budget was more than the contractual road maintenance budget, and this year they kind of flip-flopped and went in the other direction. Part of that is, you know, we did all of the prep work and we're doing all the shoulder work on this record-breaking resurfacing, or these two record-breaking resurfacing projects that we're doing this year. So a lot of that translated into material costs that we won't have next year. So that's part of it, and then part of it is just, you know, just because of the needs in the contractual road maintenance budget, part of that had to be transferred out of materials into the contracts. So I did want to point out, under the contractual road maintenance, we've got the resurfacing project for County Road 7749, which is in McClurtown. Just wanted to point out that we do have it on the CTP, just in case we don't get the grant. And but we also have it in our budget, hoping that we will get the grant, and it's going to require a pretty big cash match. So, and that is not just McClurtown, but also paving County Road 2256 down in Spring Hill. So that's in there. We've got all of our vegetation management contracts, and we have two triple R projects. We have the one that's going to let in September, which we know we're going to get. We've already gotten the award, so we know that expense will be incurred. And then we're also applying, as I mentioned earlier, we're applying for another triple R project for next year. So we have two of those in there, safety projects. And we also have, not sure yet, but we think we're finally gonna get the final accounting from Aldott on the old A-Trail projects. And so we'll owe some on those. Don't know exactly how much yet, but that's in there as well. The process of closing out those federal aid projects takes years, sometimes 5, 6, 7 years. I've seen them before. So that's something that's kind of been looming over us for the past few years, but hadn't really been close enough to put it in the budget because we didn't really know when it was coming up. But haven't gotten any indication from the state now that it will probably be coming up next year. So that pretty much covers the contractual road maintenance budget. And then, let's see. Covered materials. Okay, under, did want to point out, under equipment, we do have the rotation of the triaxle dumps in there, but we only have 2 now. We replaced one of the, we used to have 3, we replaced one with the tractor trailer, dump truck. So we were going to try to rotate the 2 triaxle dump trucks, not the tractor trailer, we're going to keep it. And then a few things we're in need of is a flatbed dump truck and a new rubber tire roller and new pickup truck, a new boom mower. We're really struggling in that department right now. Our boom mowers have gotten worn out. One of them especially is just completely dead, and the other one's staying in the shop a lot. So.
What would be the difference in, so you want to replace one of those or 2 of them?
Right now, I just want to replace one of them.
What would be the difference, and I know we've talked about it a time or 2, and there have been other more pressing needs, but in that, in the rubber-tired forward, or I don't know the proper word for it, I call it with a,
wheel
excavator with a the cutting head could go on.
Yeah, I think those are so expensive. The last time we priced one out, it was, I want to say it was right before you were elected as a commissioner. It's been that long, but it was like $325,000 then. So they're very expensive. And what we've been doing the last couple of years with our
But the difference is the life expectancy on that versus, I mean, you hadn't that what you and I talked about was the tractors are getting beat because they're not meant to have that aftermarket attachment necessarily being used that hard.
Well, what we've got here, and that's a good place for me to introduce this, but what we have in the budget for next year is kind of a trade-off between those 2. So in the past, we've always used the tractor-mounted side cutters, which are just it's a boom mower mounted to a farm tractor. The farm tractor is retrofitted to carry the cutter, and tractors are not really designed for that. But those things take a lot of abuse, and they're I don't know, they're not fragile, but they just don't, like you said, they're not as durable. And the wheeled excavators are very durable. They're very tough and last a long time, but they're also very expensive. So what we have in here is what's called a Mower Max. It's like a self-contained unit. It's designed and built for that item of work, for brush mowing and mowing slopes and that kind of thing. So
What's the price?
it's about we've got half the cost in the budget, and that's $84,000. And what we want to do is pay for half of it and finance the other half. So they're about $165,000 or a little
What
more.
type of apparatus? Is that something you can get McKinsey, if you will send us whatever you got on it?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason I thought back and wanted to bring up that, the wheeled excavator, I mean, we've all brought up at different times, we've had people talk about sight distance on roads where you're going down a hill it may be a straightaway, but you're going down the hill, going up a hill, and you can't, I mean, I know going into Shady Grove's one of them, going into Troy on Shelburne Road's one of them, where you can't, even though it's a straightaway, you can't tell if there's traffic coming towards you because of the limbs, and getting them, they're too high for the brush cutter.
Right.
And I, you know, I didn't know if, you know, as we work through some of this, if trying to work towards something like that, because at one time you talked about you were using something like a wheeled excavator to do ditch maintenance and, you know, just swapping the bucket for the cutter. But my curiosity was, would something like that be tall enough that we could do some of that without having to wait to work with REA or an outside contractor to trim those higher, you know, limbs if we had something to do? I was just curious, is the reach the same? Is it any greater on this unit you're talking about?
I think it's, I don't have those specs with me on it, but yeah, I think it's better than a tractor mounted cutter, but probably not quite as much as you'd get out of a wheeled excavator. You know, we do, even with a wheeled excavator, I think you're gonna have some areas where you still just can't reach everything that you'd like to get. And we do have an old bucket truck that still works sometimes, and that we can use to trim. Right. But that's kind of how we handle that. But anyway, if you want to see the Mower Max, if you'll just, the best thing to do is just Google Mower Max, and a YouTube video should come up and you can see one in action. But they're becoming popular because, like I said, they are made for that item and they're very durable. So we also, I guess one other thing I'll mention under equipment is, as we promised, we're planning on selling that 4th grader that after the warranty expires, and then we'll use the proceeds from that to pay toward that last new grader that we bought. And so, just so everybody knows, during this fiscal year that we're planning for, you know, we will plan to go back down from 4 to 3 graders in our fleet.
All right. What else you got?
I guess that's about all I wanted to specifically point out. I'll try to answer your questions.
Anybody got anything?
Really quick on those graders. Do you have 4 operators running them every day? I mean, do we have 4 good operators that are?
Well, we're using one right now. That's kind of hard to accurately answer that question because, no, we don't have that many operators on our dirt road crew right now. But we're using one. You remember one of the reasons why we decided to.
One of them for shoulder maintenance.
That's one of the reasons we needed to pick a 4th one up this summer and this fall is, so that operator that's using that 4th one on the shoulder work is a road crew guy, you know, so.
Well, I didn't mean like, well, I guess what I was trying to ask is, have we been able to keep all 4 of them busy and going? Because I know we got enough dirt roads for 4. The question is, can we afford it, and can we keep somebody in that can run it?
Yeah, a lot of the time, I can't give you the exact percentage of the time, but a lot of the time we have had all 4 of them running.
Anybody else? Thank you, Russell.
Let's go on.
Let you hear the close. Let's go on. Mackenzie, we'll just do another one at the next meeting.
Okay.
After the meeting, as needed.
Okay. We got
What?
3 more times that we need.
Yeah.